we just learned that Tulsi Gabbard has suspended her campaign and has endorsed Joe Biden. And at this point, you are the only prominent candidate who has dropped out that hasn't endorsed either Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden. Why haven't you announced an endorsement yet?
So actually, I've been focused on this crisis. You know, I think Bernie needs space to decide what he wants to do next, and he should be given the space to do that. Right now, I'm focused on what we're going to do next in this crisis around the coronavirus. We talked in the last segment a lot about the health parts of it, but we also, it's not too early to start talking about the economic impact of this. What it means that so many small businesses have now shut down, what it means that big businesses are shuttering their doors, how many people are unemployed, how many people are going to get one more paycheck or two more paychecks, and that's going to be it for a while, and how as a country we're going to weather not just the storm directly from the virus, the physical health, but our economic health as well. So that's where I'm really keeping my attention right now, and hope we can talk about some of the details of that.
Senator Warren, I want to say that one of the feelings that a lot of people have is that they're uncomfortable because it feels like you don't have faith in either one of the candidates. And I think one of the things that you might think about when you decide to endorse somebody is it might help people just calm down a little bit about the elections that are coming to face everything else. Because Biden has an overwhelming lead, and it just feels like maybe you're not as confident in either candidate. Can you dispel that for people?
So, you know, that's a very good point, and I hadn't thought about it that way, Whoopi, and I'm glad you raised it. This is not a question about not being confident in leadership. And look, my position on this has been clear. I think all of us who ran for president, frankly, would make a much better president than Donald Trump, and would be people who would take both this crisis seriously and take some of the deeper problems in this country seriously. As I've said, I want to make sure Bernie's got plenty of space to do what he wants to do next. I also want to be clear that on this economic crisis, we need to get focused right now on things like making sure I want to raise Social Security and disability payments by $200 a month. People who are living on Social Security and disability, they're going to see their expenses go up. This is a way to get more cash back into the economy and a way to boost the fortunes of a lot of people who really have to live at the economic margins. And this is a chance for us to fix something in the short term and in the long term. Same sort of thing around student loans. Think what it's like right now for young people who are paying an average of about $400 a month on student loans. To collect that so that the federal government can just put the money in our coffers? No. I think that money should stay with people who took out loans in order to try to get an education. This is a time of economic stress. It's a time to forgive those student loans. There are things we could be doing right now to lift a lot of fortunes.
I hear everything you're saying, but I do think that in order to get people to understand where you're coming from, I think you're going to have to help guide them in the right direction. That's all I'm saying. Whatever direction that happens to be, but with one of those two candidates. Megan?
Hi, Senator Warren. It's Megan again. Look, I was going to ask you a political question, and I'm the most political animal in the entire world, but I'm too distracted by the coronavirus. If I got sick today and didn't feel well, I have no idea how I would get tested for the coronavirus. And I'm somebody with a lot of access to a lot of things, so I can't imagine how an average New Yorker feels. I think it is absolutely blasphemous that in this country, South Korea is doing a better job of testing its patients than we are. What can be done right now to help New Yorkers and people in the rest of the country get access to these tests?
So that's what the bill yesterday was about that passed the Senate, and President Trump signed it into law last night. So that's going to help get more resources into testing and make sure that testing is free for everyone. So that's the first step in this. But the second is we've got to set up more testing sites. We've got to have more testing kits available. And much of that, Megan, has been a little bit one-off. So for example, we have hospitals and testing facilities here in Massachusetts that were all ready to go, but they needed one thing from the CDC down in Atlanta. So it took phone calls and my talking to people and other people talking to people to try to get that shipped up here so that we could ramp up our ability to test. We're all on the front end of that curve, but it's all hands on deck to try to get enough tests and then enough testing locations so that anyone who feels ill can get a test. That's got to be where we're driving this thing, and we've got to drive it there as quickly as possible. Let me just say, every time you talk about this on national TV, you help ratchet up the pressure. And I hope everybody who's watching helps ratchet up the pressure. Go online, write your senator, write your congressperson, write your governor, and say, get those tests out there, because that's the only way we're going to both be able to see who's sick with coronavirus and who's sick with something else. But it's also the only way that we're going to keep enough political pressure behind this to make sure that we're treating this crisis with the seriousness that it deserves. So thank you for all you're doing. Keep it up.